Hello. Today I'm doing a live on the law of assumption. I'm going to explain sort of how that works, what that means, the laws we create for ourselves, and how they manifest in our lives. So I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for people to enter. So I'm going to be clearing my throat a little bit, but I feel much better. Last week I tried doing a live, but I was actually messed up. So I should be a lot better now. I spent all of the past week trying to get better, taking some medicine, but yeah, I had a fever. I was out for a while. I couldn't even make lives or shorts or anything like that. So I'm better now though. I can speak, I'm here, I'm healthy, I feel strong. I'm back on my regular routine. So that's a good thing. And today's Easter. So I'm going to throw in some Easter in this live as well at the end of the video, just to kind of explain what that means for manifestation. I did make a video on this on my channel if you guys want to watch it. It's about Easter, sort of the mythology around it, connecting it to manifestation and the implications on what it has to do with you. So if you guys are interested in knowing the mystical side of Easter, then definitely check that video out as well. And yeah, thanks. Yeah, I do feel a lot better now. I feel healthier, stronger. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So the law of assumption, I'm just going to explain what that means. I'm going to explain what that means in comparison to the law of attraction. And there's a big difference. So I want to start off by saying that the only law that exists is what your subconscious mind believes to be true. Now, what that means is, in the law of assumption, is that whatever you assume to be reality will manifest as your reality. That is the only law that exists. And out of this exists all these other sub-laws that we follow. The law of attraction focuses more on a feeling, sort of feeling happy, and then that will attract whatever you're trying to manifest. So it's usually associated with being positive in order for you to manifest. But law of assumption is more nuanced in that it explains how your state manifests your outer reality. So again, the only law that exists is what your subconscious mind believes to be true. Now, let's say you believe that in order to be successful, you have to go to college, it has to be like this, everything has to be specific. Then this would be you putting a law on yourself. So you are the lawgiver and you are the judge. I'm going to explain what that means. And hello, everybody coming in. Happy Easter. So if the law of assumption is all about what you assume to be true and that manifests your outer reality, then there's all kinds of laws that you can give yourself. There's all kinds of ideas that you believe to be true and that you have to follow. So life is different for everybody. And this explains why that is. Some people can believe that in order for you to be successful, for example, you have to look a certain way. So then that would be considered a law that you believe. So you assume that in order for you to be successful, you have to look good. And then some people believe that you have to be skilled in order to be successful. Some people believe something else, and so on and so forth. So it gets very nuanced. And this is the assumptions that we all believe in our everyday life that manifests. This is the law of assumption. So it's much more than how you actually feel. It's more about what you believe to be true subconsciously, and that's the only reality. So as you give yourself these sub-laws in which you believe this thing or that thing in order for you to get this manifestation at the end, that's the only thing that's happening. So another thing can be that some people believe in hard work. Some people believe that in order for you to succeed, you must work very hard. But you can say that not every law works the same in everyone else's life. It just depends on how much you believe a certain assumption. because there's plenty of people that work hard and not everybody gets what they want, right? So this means that this idea does not go across every single person in the world. So it just depends. And this is all the law of assumption explains. The only law that exists is what you believe to be true, what your subconscious mind accepts as true. So in order for you to expand this idea and assume a different state, you have to expand on what your mind actually believes. So you first have to identify what it is that you assume, what it is that your subconscious mind believes, and then work on growing that idea. So if you're somebody who's stuck in saying things like, bad things happen to me, or you can't have a perfect life, these are things that you are proclaiming, things that you are decreeing. You are the lawgiver. You are the one declaring it, and you're the one that is saying it and believing it. So you are also the judge. So if you're the lawgiver and you're the judge, then you can also change the law and you can judge yourself accordingly. In the Bible, it talks a lot about judge not so that you're not judged. And what this means is less about judging other people, but looking at how you're judging yourself and the world itself. Because these are all assumptions that enter your mind. And then this is how you think the world should be run, if that makes sense. So then this manifests as your outer reality. You are the judge, you are the lawgiver. So you have to be careful about what you declare and what you decree. So essentially, your mind is always in court, depending on what you assume to be true. So again, this all depends on your individual mind, the way that you grew up, how you see the world, and how you understand the world. Base is based on what you assume. And this is going to be what you manifest in the end. So, if you follow a certain thing that you believe, certain laws, for example, if you believe that in order for you to be happily married, you have to have a good job, you have to make a certain amount of money, and the list goes on, then that would be your assumption. Now, you can, according to the law of assumption, using manifestation, change this in order for you to pass those prerequisites that you give yourself. So naturally, it would look like this. In our everyday life, we say, in order for me to be happy, I have to do this, 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 and we have a list. In order for us to change that, we would have to say, in order for me to be happy or successful, I can just do that naturally. There's nothing I have to do. There's nothing I have to work towards. It can just happen to me just like that. And this is the whole idea with manifestation and the whole idea of the law of assumption, is that you're taking away all this other stuff that is getting in the way of you manifesting. Because there's so many blocks, and you hear that a lot too in manifestation circles. You have mental blocks. And so if you have a lot of mental blocks, then you have to remove them. But what are these mental blocks? All it is those ideas that you give to yourself. You're the lawmaker. You're the one putting these things out there in your own head. So you can remove them as well. But you just have to recognize the position that your mind takes in this position. Another thing I wanted to mention about the whole idea of the law of assumption is that it has nothing to do with morality. This is something I touched on last week, where it's not about being good or bad. It's just neutral. It's just how things work. So you can be a good person, you can be a bad person. It all just depends on what you believe to be true. A lot of times with rich people, a lot of people who feel entitled with life, they usually get what they want simply because they assume they should have it. That's it. So if you ever heard somebody talk who is very successful, they have lots of things, lots of assets and money, they usually speak in a way that's like this. They don't say, oh, I want this. I want to make a business. It's more like, I'm going to create a business that's going to make me money. So it's more like a decree. It's a declaration. So they assume it's just going to happen. And so that's the mindset that we need to take. And this is the way that the law of assumption works. It all just depends on how you see things. It has nothing to do with morality, has nothing to do with being a good person. It's just about using the energy, using the law, you can say, in your favor. And that's it. It's not about being a good person. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Different things happen to different people. All things don't happen the same for every single person. So for example, you see this a lot in like dating. Like I see it a lot with like young men. There's always like a blueprint or a diagram. It's like if you do this, this, and this, you follow this step, you say this, you do that, then you will attract women. But that doesn't always work for everybody. And the reason it doesn't work for everybody is because you have a different assumption in your own head. Not everything works the same for every single person. So it's important for you to, as an individual, discover yourself, find out what it is that is going on in your head, and then work with that. Same thing happens with creating a business. Somebody who's successful in business will say, you got to know people, you have to network, and then you have to work hard. And then somebody else will do that, and they will get nowhere. It just depends. And since everything depends, it all depends on those laws that you have within your head. What beliefs do you have about these things? Do you really believe that if you follow this blueprint, you will have the end result thing at the end? And if it's not working for you, what's stopping you? It's all mental things. So if you have these mental blocks, you can change them. You just have to identify them. And this is what the law of assumption is all about. So if you want to be successful, you want to be married, whatever it is that you want at the end, if you want to manifest, all it should be is very simple. You're making your manifestation very simple in the end. It's always the beginning and the end. There is no, I want to manifest money, I want to manifest success, but I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do the other one, I have to be like this, I have to act this way. It's just focusing on the end. And then that middle, the how, will happen for you. So let's say if you want to be successful, you have to be more charismatic. You have to be more out there. You have to network. You have to know people. That will happen automatically when you go straight to the end. Once you believe for yourself that you can have success simply for just being yourself, those things will happen to you rather than you have to work and force it to happen. And that's the way that it works, rather than you have to kill yourself. So you're letting your manifestation happen to you. You're not looking for it. You're not chasing it. It's something that happens naturally for you. And it's just something I emphasize a lot. Manifestation should feel natural. It shouldn't be forced. It shouldn't be something that causes you a lot of pressure. It shouldn't be heavy. Like you're trying to make it happen, and it shouldn't be something that you feel like has to happen so fast because you feel like it's so far away. The assumption should be that you are successful already. You are in the process, at least, of being successful, simply because that is the way the law works. So if the law works in this way, where you assume, then it's going to happen. There's no need to add anything on top of that. You don't need to know anybody. You don't need to do anything in particular. You will be shown the way as you go. So you don't have to have it all figured out right away. As soon as you assume the state in the end, the success, the marriage, the friends, whatever it is that you want, it'll happen to you in reverse. It'll come to you. So that's the general idea. It's all about it being natural for you, understanding how it works. A lot of people focus on, like I mentioned, the law of attraction, where it's about feeling happy or feeling thankful. But if you're not careful, you can just stay in the life that you are in already, where nothing changes. You could just develop a false sense of being thankful and a false sense of happiness, because what happens is you can develop a state of being thankful in which you're just thankful for the current life that you have. But if you're not happy in your current life, you're sort of deceiving yourself. So for example, if you're struggling, if you don't have any money, if you're lonely, you can be deceiving yourself in being thankful and being lonely, being unsuccessful and suffering. So there's a lot of people that are in situations like they work in a job they don't like, they're suffering, they're hungry. And so you deceive yourself when you say, I'm so thankful for all of this, and that's just what it is. So you're just manifesting more of the same thing. So you're kind of tricking yourself, kind of coping with what's happening. If you want to use thankfulness in a way where you can manifest something better for yourself, then you would be thankful for your manifestation as if it was happening right now. And then you can be thankful for what's happening currently. I'm not saying that it's something that you have to push away. I'm just saying that to be thankful for something that has not yet happened is admitting, according to the law of assumption, that you have it already. I'm thankful that I am successful. I am thankful that I can manifest, that this is easy, that this is natural. So that's the way that you can use that to your advantage. So now you're changing how your mind works. You're changing how you see things. So the law of assumption is just about the laws that you give yourself. There's only one law. And like the Bible says, there's only one God. So that just simply means, symbolically, there's only one way by assuming or believing something to be true. And this is all accepted by your subconscious mind as true. That's the way it works. If any of you have any questions, feel free to ask them there. But that's pretty much the law of assumption, how it works within your mind, how it affects you, and how it manifests outwardly. I also want to talk about Easter since today is Easter. But as I mentioned, I did make a video about this on my channel, so feel free to watch it there. But Easter, as far as manifestation, a lot of people don't know this, but in order for Easter to happen, there has to be a full moon first. This is why Easter always falls on a different day than like any other day, Christmas. Christmas is always December 25th, but Easter is always on a different day. So people know this generally, but they don't know that it's triggered by a full moon, which I think is very interesting. When I first found that out, I was like, wow. So as far as manifestation goes, what this means, this is the simple version. You can check out the full version on my channel. But the full moon has to happen in the season of Aries. So when this happens, this represents symbolically. Aries represents the beginning of spring. Now, what this means for you symbolically is that the full moon represents your emotions. When the full moon is waxing or when it's becoming full, this means that you are becoming full in an emotion. So when it comes to manifestation, you are becoming your manifestation. You are feeling it to be true. This is the full moon. Full moon in the time of Aries, in the spring, means that you are moving away from your old self, which is the winter time, the coldness, where nothing grows. You can throw a seed into the snow in the winter time and it will never grow because there's not enough sun and it's too cold. But those same seeds that were there, once it gets hot enough and the snow melts, those seeds will germinate and they will actually grow into a plant. So what this means for you is once you let go of your old self, you move away from winter, you transition now into the new version of yourself, your new manifestation. So now you're entering into new life, your new existence, where these things start to show. This is springtime, new life, new opportunities. And then spring goes into summer, which is the fullness of your manifestation, the fullness of your life, where the sun is out and it just represents glory, enlightenment, and consciousness itself. That's the short version, but that's pretty much how Easter works. There has to be a full moon. The full moon simply means the fulfillment of your manifestation within you. You become it. It is full. It is fulfilled, in other words. You really feel it to be true within yourself. But I always thought that was cool. I really like that about Easter and all these holidays. They're very much connected with astrological movements. And all these things have very interesting implications when it comes to yourself and even manifestation. Manifestation is not something, I always say this, it's not something about just simply material things. It has to do a lot with your experience itself, where there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to fear, because once you know that everything comes out of you, then all you got to do is go within yourself to change things outwardly. Then there's nothing to worry about. You don't have to change anyone's idea. You don't have to do anything outside of yourself. It's a lot less middlemen, and you can go straight to the source, which is yourself. So essentially, there's nothing to fear. All you do is change yourself. You don't have to do anything. If you don't like something outside of yourself, you can change it within yourself. Change your reactions, change the way you approach things, change the way you see things and experience things. And that's essentially what I'm talking about today. The law of assumption is simply what your mind believes to be true, and that's it. Your subconscious mind can gather any idea it wants. So the way that your subconscious mind works, it doesn't understand time. It doesn't understand the future and the past. So what that means is you can say something and it'll accept it as true. I spoke on this before. I made a small short about how people can joke themselves into their manifestation. When people say, oh, I'm so stupid, I'm so dumb, I'm such an idiot. You're declaring things about yourself, and even though it's a joke, you say that often, and it becomes something that you subconsciously believe about yourself. Oh, I'm such a klutz. Oh, bad things always happen to me. So you say these things, and you're declaring it. That's the way your subconscious mind works. So you're creating a law. In other words, you're saying something, it becomes law, it becomes real, true. So it's like, okay, Howard is saying this about himself, so it must be true. So he is dumb, he is an idiot, bad things happen to him. Okay, let's make it happen. That's essentially how it works. So whenever you say something, you are the lawgiver. You are the one saying these things. So be very careful when you're joking. That's the other thing. So I also wanted to touch on your mind being a judge as well. This one's important because if you're the lawgiver, you're also the judge. So what this means is this. You constantly judge yourself. If you want to manifest success, your mind will say, well, in order for you to be successful, I judge myself and say, I can't do it because in order for me to be successful, I have to be less annoying, be more out there, be more charismatic, be smarter, be more handsome, whatever it is. So you have this big list of things. So the judge says, well, you can't do it. You know why? Because you're not hitting this list. So until you hit this list, then you can be successful. Okay? So your mind is sort of like a judge, your subconscious mind. It's always watching and always judging you according to how you judge yourself and how you judge others. So the way that you judge others works like this. If you say, people don't like me, the only way I can have friends is, and you have another laundry list. I have to be more friendly, I have to be more funny, I have to be more out there. You have this long list. It's the same thing. So every time you try to make friends, your mind is judging you or you're judging yourself. And it's saying, well, you can't have friends. You're not a good person. You can't be a good friend because you're not fulfilling this list. You're not out there enough. You're not funny enough. You're not intelligent enough. You don't have enough hobbies. You're not interesting enough, whatever it is. So you subconsciously judge yourself. You look at others and then it comes back to you. Sort of like a projection that just reflects back onto you. And that's it. So you also have to be careful on how you judge yourself, how you see things, how you see the world, because it always comes back to you. It's all judgments, how you see the world. Another example I can give you is exactly how you see the world itself. So for example, if you say something like, let me think, oh, the job market sucks. Nobody's taking in people. I have to be like this in order to get a good job. I have to have a master's degree. I got to do this. I have to be more out there, charismatic, the same laundry list that exists. So you're essentially declaring something again based on what you think the world should be like. So whatever it is that you assume the world should be like is just going to continue to manifest for you. If you believe the job market sucks, and in order for you to get a job, you have to fulfill all these requirements, then your mind will always block you because you still always have those requirements that you're not fulfilling. And then even if you hit all those requirements, let's say, your mind can still come up with something else to judge you on. So it's sort of like Okay, you're charismatic now. You have a master's degree. You're more out there. You're more confident. Well, now I say that you can't have it because you didn't have a good childhood. So people with a bad childhood can't have a good job. There's always something. So you just have to be aware of what your mind is blocking you in. And it'll always find something. So in order for you to switch it, you just literally have to analyze yourself and understand what is happening in your head. Okay, I see a question here. If you feel stuck in the way that you think, what tips would you give to break that stuckness? So it just depends on what you're stuck in. So the feeling of being stuck itself will make you feel stuck. So it goes back to I always describe the laundry list of things. Usually that's how it goes, because your mind will judge you. It is the lawgiver. So then whatever law it is, that's the assumption that you believe to be true. If you say things like for example, I'm stuck, there's nothing I can do, then that's just what it's going to be. You have to learn how to change the way you speak to yourself and declare different things, even if you're actually stuck. Because whatever it is that you believe to be true will just continue to happen. The feeling of feeling stuck can happen in many different ways subconsciously. Because maybe your mind can feel like you deserve to be stuck because you're not good enough, you're not fulfilling something, you're lacking a certain personality trait. Maybe you just feel, excuse me, maybe you just feel like you deserve to be there. And that's your mind playing tricks on you. Well, Howard deserves to be stuck because he's not good enough. Howard deserves to be stuck because whatever reason. So once you find out the reason, you can start to actually learn about yourself, remove the block itself. So if, for example, just a general example, if you're stuck because you feel like you're not good enough, then you would have to feel good enough simply for being yourself, because your mind will give you a bunch of reasons why you're not good enough. So what you got to do is actually give yourself reasons as to why you are good enough. The same way your mind has reasons, this big list of reasons you're not. So it can be like something like, you're not good enough because, again, you don't have a good childhood. That's one. You're not attractive enough. You're not charismatic enough. You're not confident enough. This long list. You would create another list in your head where it's like, well, it doesn't matter. I can be unstuck simply because. So you're creating a new law for yourself, a new assumption. And so you have to grow into the belief that it just is that way that you're saying, because you just have to declare it. You just have to decree it. And this is how manifestation works. And it's interesting because it's something that is very weird for us to do. And it's like, well, I'm stuck and there's nothing I can do. This is natural. This is the natural way we see the world around us. But manifestation doesn't work in just the natural way that we see the world. It's, I would say, supernatural. It's unusual. And it's supposed to be unusual, because if you want to break away from being stuck, then you have to do something extraordinary. Because it is ordinary for people to be stuck. It's ordinary for people to just follow life the way that it is set out to be. But you just have to break it by changing the way you think, understanding the way life works differently. Because if you just stay stuck on how life works according to everyone else, then you're just going to follow the same routine everybody else follows. So that's where manifestation can set you free. In the Bible, it says the truth shall set you free. The truth is, there's something that you can do, and there's no amount of feeling stuck that can make you feel stuck forever. It's just, what do you think about it? It's just the law that your mind is keeping you stuck in. So use these ideas that I'm telling you to take yourself out. Hello from South Korea. Wow. It's good to have you on here. But I hope that helps what I'm saying. I guess what I'm saying is, if you want extraordinary results, you have to think extraordinary or differently. If you want to be different from everyone else, your mind just has to switch. Extraordinary results takes an extraordinary mind, in other words. But that's pretty much the message, the law of assumption, and how that works with your subconscious mind and how it believes things to be true. Okay. I'll just leave it open if anyone has any other questions, but that pretty much sums up the message for the day. Just understand how your mind works. Remember that you're the lawgiver and you're the judge, but you can sort of speak to yourself from a different perspective, in which you can say things like, Howard not only deserves a better life, but he is living a better life. So that's you giving an order, giving an instruction. A lot of times we get into asking, sort of, I want success. I want this, I want that. We just have to get in the habit of declaring things, decreeing things, just saying it. It is, I would say, it's not in the speech, it's more in the conviction of your speech that matters. When you say things like, I'm successful, I am happy, I am this, I am that. Bible says, let the weak man say, I am strong. It says that for a reason. If you are weak, if you say, I am strong enough times, if you believe it, then even if it's false, it must be true. So you're not lying to yourself, you're just changing the truth itself by you declaring something. And that's how it works. So you're building the momentum. And it goes back to Easter. As the moon becomes full, it is becoming real within you. So it's not going to be real the first time. It might not even become real the 100th time you say it, but eventually it will. This is you becoming full in the full moon in Easter. Then springtime will come, and then the new growth will show itself as you move away from your old identity. Okay, I see a question here. What got me into the law of assumption? How did I connect it with the Bible the way that I do? How did I learn that? Well, that's that's a long story, but I guess I'll give you the short version. What got me into the law of assumption? So I actually used to be a missionary, and I noticed a lot of times when I would be out in the missionary field that people would be very anxious and depressed sometimes. And the idea is that, well, if you have God, you should be fine, right? That's the general idea. Well, if you have God, there's nothing else that you're missing. That's the fulfillment, Jesus Christ. But that's not true, because there's a lot of people that believe in Jesus, a lot of people that believe in God or whatever it is, even the universe, even New Agers, and there's still a lot of depression, there's still a lot of anxiety. So I wondered, so what is the problem? What is the thing that gets people fulfilled? How do you find fulfillment? Then I just found out that it's not about actually what you believe, it's what you think about what you believe. That's how I describe it. So it's like, if you believe in God, well, what do you think about God? I mean, I could say, yeah, I believe God, I think he's terrible. Or I can say, I believe in God, yeah, he's great, he's fantastic. And those people that believe that God is great and fantastic usually have a better time in church. But there's a lot of people that just think God is a punishing force, And if you believe that God is a punishing force, then there's nothing good about it. You're just going to be living in fear and anxiety. And that's the idea. That's how I got into the law of assumption, because essentially it led me into hypnosis, where I wanted to help people change their belief about God. And then I realized that, hypnosis is actually the science behind changing beliefs. So beliefs don't have to be real, but they're real to all of us. So then I got into law of assumption because I found out that, well, there must be something else to reality. If your idea of God can change, and if your idea of what reality is can change, then there is no reality. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's the way I think about it. That's the way I thought about it when I was first discovering this. So then I found out that God is unlimited. Then I found out that God dwells within all of us. And if we limit what God is, and if we limit our mindset itself, then that's the problem. So we can think all sort of things about anything. So again, with the example of God, maybe I think that he's terrible. Maybe I think that he's great. It just depends on how I think about it. And so this goes into our self-concept as well. What if I think that I'm great? And what if everyone else thinks I'm not? Or what if the opposite? What if I think that I'm not great and everybody else around me says that I am great? What really matters? What matters is what I think of myself. That's what I saw a lot in people. And so that's what's most important. Excuse me. And then the last part of the question is, how did I learn to connect it with the Bible? Well, because I found out that the Bible is a big mystical text where it's mostly about yourself. It's just a big thing on the psychology of you and manifestation. Because then my next question was, what is spirit? And then you have to admit at some point that you can't prove it. And then it goes into what are thoughts anyway? What is your imagination? What are all these things you can't explain? So there's more to life than just your physical reality. So then that's where it gets into the law of assumption, thoughts and your beliefs. You know, why do we have an imagination? Why is that something that we have? You know, very interesting questions. Why do we have such an ability to vividly imagine something? Why do we feel the need to want more in life? You know, why do we have desire? So as I asked myself these questions, that's what led me down the research, the rabbit hole of the law of assumption and all these things. Because it was more like I wanted to just find out what was real. And to me, this is the most realist thing that I found because it all connects. The Bible explains the law of assumption extremely accurately, and it connects with everything. Things that have no explanation. Like, for example, one of the burning questions that people have is, why do good things happen to bad people? You know, church doesn't really explain that in a way where it is satisfactory, where it's like, well, you know, God kind of blesses people, but it's like, but I'm Christian, why do things happen to me? He should be protecting me, should he not? You know? And it's like, well, you know, then the devil's attacking you and God's testing you. And it's like, well, how do I know the difference? So, you know, it gets very confusing. So law of assumption would say it doesn't really matter on whether you're a good person or a bad person, whether you believe in God or not. So it makes more sense. It's more about what you believe to be true. And it's like, okay, so then if what I believe to be true is the thing, then that's something I can actually test and try out. So if I change my self-concept, if I change it, then in theory, my life should change. But you have to change first. If you don't change, nothing will change. That makes sense. So good things happen to bad people because there's a lot of things mentally that we hold on to. And to me, that makes the most sense. And that is something that you can test and something that you can try. Change the way that you think about things. Change the way that your mind understands things. If you're really hard on yourself, try being more gentle and watch things change around you. It's something that you can actually test and something that you can try. If you're lazy, for example, if you're too laid back on yourself, if you're a little bit more rigid, watch your life change. It's all things that go on inside of you. So this actually has a practical application. If you want to try meditating, if you want to see what your mind thinks about when you're not thinking about what you're going to eat, your job, and things that you normally think about, meditate and find out what your mind is thinking. If your mind is thinking about bad things, then the problem is not meditation, because meditation will usually bring things out to your attention. So once you analyze what it is that those things are bringing up, what your meditation is bringing up, then you can work with that. This is all things you can do practically. And to me, that's what the law of assumption is all about. It's not this strange thing. It's something practical and something true. The law of assumption. That's why I choose law of assumption over law of attraction. To me, law of assumption is more nuanced. It's more detailed and it makes more sense. That's all about what you believe to be true as reality. Consciousness itself expresses itself through you, through what you believe to be true. It has nothing to do with necessarily your attitude. Because if that was true, if everyone who was happy got successful or got whatever they wanted, then I think a lot more people would be successful and manifesting left and right, but that doesn't happen either. There's a lot of people who are angry people who are successful and all the way around. So this still doesn't explain everything to me. Law of assumption just says what you believe to be true just is. And in the Bible it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your heart is your subconscious mind. So whatever it is that you believe, that is just what you are. And that's what your outer manifestation will reflect. And that's it. I'm trying to think of the other Bible verse I had in my mind. Yeah, so it says also, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So whatever it is that you declare, whatever it is that you say. So for example, I was mentioning how you can joke yourself into a manifestation. I'm so stupid, I'm an idiot. You're declaring it. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So there's a little bit of truth to what you're saying. That's essentially what that Bible verse is saying. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So if you talk to somebody for long enough and you really analyze their manner of speaking, especially what they believe about others and themselves, you can already start to see how they're manifesting the world around them. It's through speech. It's through patterns of speech. So your outer speech will match your inner speech, and it will help you to understand what's going on in your own head. And that is essentially the law of assumption. The law of assumption, the laws you give to yourself, what you believe to be true subconsciously. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. I hope that answered that question. I feel that was a long, drawn out thing, but it was good. Okay, very good. All right. With that, I'm going to log off. If you guys have any questions, you guys want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me on my channel. Feel free to email me even. Leave any comments on my videos. If you guys have any topics that you want me to cover, feel free to reach out to me as well. I can talk about anything you guys want, whether it's law of assumption, psychology, subconscious mind, whatever it is in regards to manifestation. I'm always open to ideas and different things. If you guys need help with manifesting for it to be natural in your life, not something that you're reaching for or something that has to be hard or something that makes you stressed, that's something that I help with. So feel free to reach out to me. It's a gradual experience where we work together and just helping you to manifest naturally, where the idea is you're not just going to manifest one thing. The idea is to change your mind into manifesting itself, understanding these laws and changing your whole experience. The idea is teach a man to fish, not give the man a fish. So the whole idea is to teach you to manifest naturally. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me as well. But with that, I'll leave you guys and I'll see you guys next week where I'll be live at 8 p.m. So the same time. And I look forward to it. I'll see you guys then. Happy Easter. Take care.